Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to another episode of Go Long Live with Barry Long the second. Mo Murphy, Sage Alvarez will join us shortly. You already know what time it is. We took a little hiatus. As you can see, my voice is just now finally starting to come back. We all have to take a little break to get our minds right, a little vacation time. But we are ready to go out this 5 days a week at noon 30. We are live on CoachellaValley.com. We are live on today's California.com. We are also live on today's Canada.com. We are all over Twitter, all over the internet. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, for liking the statuses, for posting what we post, for just being a part of the show. And without any further ado, he is Mo Murphy. What's going on, Mo?
Yo, what's going on, bro?
Not much, man. It's been a rough little week, but we are here, man. We can't ask for anything better than just to be alive and wake up every day. So
Yeah.
so man, we got a lot to talk about. All right, first of all, the Braves are the World Series champions. Can we get a little applause for them?
Yep. Atlanta for taking the curse.
Yeah, and look, we called it. We said Atlanta in 6, and that's exactly what happened. And they beat the brakes off of Houston last night. Jorge Soler ended up being the MVP, and just a great story for him. He was not even playing in the first couple series, but he did finally bounce back, and he ended up hitting 3 home runs in this entire series. And that 3-run shot he hit yesterday, when the game was tied 0-0, was just phenomenal. And it was one of those moments where he's always going to remember. And he had the bat flip, I think, of my lifetime, of my generation. When he threw the bat down, he starts yelling at the catcher before he exits the box. Just a great clip. And that's a great picture right there. You see the catcher, umpire, and Jorge Soler, and then the 2 fans. You can see the lady with her hands, with the praying hands. It's just like everybody knows it's gone. And the pitcher didn't even want to look at the ball. He didn't even turn around after he hit that home run. So just a great thing for Atlanta. The first time they're the champions since 1995. I know everybody back home in Virginia, my hometown, is all Braves fans. That's why it was so weird, awkward growing up being a Dodger fan out there. But we called it Braves in 6. Won't tell you how much money I won. Just tell you it's been a good day. It's gonna be a good day. Now we also had we've been away this past weekend. We had some great football. Well, we had some all right football. We had a game on Monday night between the Giants and the Chiefs. We had a little bit of college football I want to ask you about too, Mo. Michigan State defeated Michigan in a close game. We also have some stuff coming up this weekend, and then I almost forgot. The trade deadline just passed yesterday. We had a trade between the Broncos and the Rams. Want to know if that's going to be something good for the Rams moving forward. But let's just hop right into it. So what stood out to you this past weekend regarding football, Mo Murphy, in the NFL?
Oh, I mean, if I may, beat my chest a little bit.
Go ahead.
Dallas Cowboys winning without Dak Prescott, moving to 6-1. Coming off a bye. Everybody was telling me that the Minnesota Vikings was that team, and I didn't think Dallas was going to be able to do it without Dak. I did think this was going to be a statement game for Minnesota. That they're going to be a wild card. They're going to be a tough out for anybody that had to play them. And I just felt like Dak was so important that even though the defense was playing well, the run game was fine, I was more concerned about us being a one hit wonder as far as having to run the ball. They was going to stack 8-9 in the box, and they started off doing that, and they found out quickly that, shout out to Kellen Moore for getting that job done and really trusted Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush made some mistakes, was able to, but never let it rattle him. So, that's what a seasoned guy does, even though he's never really had meaningful minutes, only threw 3 passes prior to the Sunday start. But at the end of the day, he never got rattled. That's what a veteran guy does, a career backup guy does, and he played well. And in that Michigan State game, that game lived up to the hype. It was everything it was supposed to be as far as the importance of the game. We saw that in the college football playoff rankings, but the importance of the game, but then it just being supposed to be the best matchup of the day. And that's exactly what it turned out to be. Michigan looked like they had it locked in the bag, was up 30-16. And that boy, Kenneth Walker, mama, there went that man. Listen, Peyton Thorne threw 3 interceptions, and Kenneth Walker got it done on the ground. He beat Michigan on the ground. Michigan State couldn't do it in the air. Their defense stepped up when needed, which is why I always say we talk about great defensive teams, but it's not about can you play defense for 4 quarters? Can you play defense when the biggest moments of the game and when they matter? And that's exactly McNamara was throwing all over Michigan State defense for the first 3.5 quarters. And then Jim Harbaugh making what we want to say maybe the worst call ever by bringing in J.J. McCarthy on the drive that and he fumbled the first play. Like that's what people get to talking about Harbaugh. But that Michigan game, it lived up to the hype. Of course, I wish it could have ended in a tie. Being an Ohio State fan, I didn't want to see neither team win. But, if I had to see a team win, it would be Michigan State. And, it's going to get interesting for the Big Ten here with Michigan State being 3, Ohio State being 5, and even Michigan being 7. Ohio State still got to play Michigan State and Michigan back-to-back. So it's going to get real interesting here how the college football playoff final rankings shake out based on these matchups coming up.
It really is. It really is. And you got a team like Alabama that's lost the game. They're still, staying alive at number 3. And I just feel like, after watching what Michigan State was able to do, Michigan State and Oklahoma, should they be ranked higher, in your opinion?
I like Michigan State. Where they at? I kind of figured they would be 3. Now, Michigan State at 3, Ohio State at 5. I'm surprised with the college football playoff rankings that came out last night. I'm surprised Oklahoma is at 8. Like they just told me that an undefeated Power 5 team means absolutely nothing right now because they've struggled to win. But at the end of the day, like they're basically sending the message that winning isn't enough. And so I'm really surprised that Oklahoma was at 8, and I'm surprised Cincinnati was at 6. Like. And Oregon's in the top 4, which the committee tells me what I would say is that of the top 10 teams, Oregon has the strongest win because they beat the team which the committee determined is the 5th best team in the country. Oregon's the only team to have a top 5 win right now. So I do give them their props. But Cincinnati being behind 3.
That's where I don't agree.
3, they're behind Bama, Ohio State, and Oregon. They're behind 3 one-loss teams, and they're undefeated. I think we got to realize if we don't expand the playoffs, we'll never see a group of 5 team in the playoff probably ever. Because there's a road for Cincinnati to get there, but a lot has to be done. And I don't think that a lot that has to be done and can't happen. Like it's not just has to be done, but there's some things that also can't happen. And so with the mixture of that, I don't know. I think there's a path for Cincinnati to be there. I said that last night on the initial reaction, but I also see if you don't think there's a path for them because the right stuff has to happen for Cincinnati getting that top 4, which is insane because they're undefeated.
Yeah, and it's gonna shake out very, very interesting. When we see this these last few weeks of college football. We got a comment from Ireland, from Belfast, Ireland. Billy Graham, shout out. He says hello. We also got a comment from Mir. Saman says what's up. We got a lot of different comments from Mary Claire Johnson, Sister Mary Clarence. She says, nice job. Appreciate you. But now I want to ask you this because I was sitting there watching that Michigan State game, and I agree with you. Jim Harbaugh makes a terrible decision. And he seems to have just been making, okay, we know that there are qualifications. There are certain things you have to do when you are the coach of Michigan, okay? They want you to win. They want you to win the division or the conference. But what they really want you to do is you have to beat Ohio State. And he has yet to beat Ohio State. Now, as well as they've been playing this year, do you think that he should be on the hot seat if they don't finish in the top 10, let's say, this year? Is it time for Jim Harbaugh to start packing his bags?
It's tough because, what are your options? You always have to think about that. What are your options? But if they lose, they'll be 0-7 against Ohio State.
0-7.
They'll be 0-7. Yeah, and that just can't happen. Ohio State hasn't lost to Michigan since 2011. But I mean, there's you can have a bad season if you're Michigan, but if you beat Ohio State, all is forgiven on the next year. Let's improve. But the constant, they have a shot and they lose the big games. To have to live with having it looking like a playoff team, a top 5 team until you face Michigan State. And they still look really good. Don't get me wrong. Michigan's not out by any means. If they went out and Michigan State loses to Ohio State, Michigan wins out, they could be a one-loss Big Ten champ. Michigan could be right in there. Like, they're not out by any means. But that Penn State game this week and the Ohio State game at the end of the year is going to matter, obviously, immensely. But I do think, like, Jim Harbaugh has no Big Ten championships, hasn't beat Ohio State, has a ridiculous record against ranked opponents.
Ridiculous.
But still an overall really good record as in his career at Michigan and in the Big Ten. So he beats everybody but the top 2 to 3 teams. I do think if losing to Michigan State, if they drop this game against Penn State and drop the game at the end against Ohio State, even if they just drop against Ohio State, you start to think, like, there's got to be better out there, or he's just not it. Because
you got Mel Tucker right there at Michigan State. I mean, Michigan is a high-profile job.
Bro, 7 years, and you've seen Ohio State win multiple Big Ten championships. You've seen Penn State win Big Ten championship. I know they're on the same side as Ohio State, so that's unfortunate, but Michigan State won a Big Ten championship and made a playoff appearance. Michigan State has a playoff appearance. They're on the same side as Ohio State. They had to beat Ohio State and win the Big Ten for them to be able to do that. Yeah. Michigan hasn't done it. Like, and so when you think about it, I mean, this was when I think D'Antoni was at Michigan State, but even still, like, when you think about it, Michigan State has done something in Harbaugh's tenure that Michigan hasn't done. No playoffs, no Big Ten championships, no beating Ohio State. Like, something's got to give, or you just can continue to be second fiddle. You know, you just can continue to be second fiddle to Ohio State and let Michigan State come in to be that prominence. You be the third best team on your side of the Big Ten. If you're okay with them and okay with that with Harbaugh, I mean, you can keep giving them chances, but he's got. I feel like all the pressure's on him to beat Ohio State.
Yeah, and if he does it, and then, you know, but I think that if I was the administration at Michigan, I'd be done with him. And you got a guy, Mel Tucker, who's over there at Michigan State. You know, he's not been there for too long, but he's making a lot of noise, and it definitely highlights you know, how your coaching weaknesses when you're coaching up against somebody who just knows how to do it better. So yeah, I feel like Jim Harbaugh's, you know, I feel like his reputation is going to help him, you know, save his job for a little bit longer than it would in previous years. But 0-7 against Ohio State is ridiculous. Now, that was some college football takeaways and your NFL takeaways. Now, my NFL takeaway this past weekend, there's a couple games that really stood out to me and a couple of things that happened that stood out to me. But first of all, I wanted to say, you know, our condolences go out to Jameis Winston for tearing his ACL and having MCL, MCL damage to his knee as well. Because you root for a guy like that, you know, has a good personality, that has struggled in the league, that had to get traded away. And then watch his team that basically all they did was replace him, and then they added a couple pieces, you know, that followed Tom Brady. They won a Super Bowl without him, and then he finds his footing in New Orleans, becomes a starter. You know, has an up and down year, but they were 5-2, and he was leading his team to some ugly wins, but he was leading them to wins. And to see him talk about, you know, before the game, you see him talk about his relationship with Sean Payton and how he feels like that was just such a good landing spot. And then to see him, you know, go through that gruesome injury, and then to see guys on the sideline crying, you know, Sean Payton talking about after the game that he was in tears. That just shows you how quickly Jameis Winston became family with these guys. And it just shows you, you know, how much they really care about him. And now, the one thing I will say about Jameis Winston is his primary weapon is not his legs. Okay, so it's not like if Lamar Jackson goes down with a knee injury and tears his ACL, because we know Lamar Jackson needs his legs when he comes back. So what I will say is that Jameis Winston is kind of like out of all the black quarterbacks, he runs the least, right? He's like a statue back there. And it'll kind of be like when Tom Brady or someone else who doesn't usually use their legs returns from an injury like this. Now, we have seen Jameis Winston a couple times extend third downs and get those first downs with his legs on short runs, but he's not a runner. So I think that will you know, help to his coming back. But it's just still a very devastating injury when anybody tears their ACL. And I've never torn an ACL. You have, Mo Murphy. Can you tell us what it's like? Is it painful?
It all depends on circumstance. I didn't feel mine right away. Like, I didn't realize right away that I tore it until the game slowed down. Like, I tore it continued to play. I was playing basketball, though I wasn't playing football.
Like Klay Thompson.
The game slowed down. As soon as a foul happened, like 10 seconds later, it's not like, I played through 3 quarters. 10 seconds later, foul gets called, the game stops. Like, the free throws, you're standing, and my leg went numb. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I knew there was some pain, but I'm like, I'll start like not being able to feel my leg. Boom, go down, realize like, hey, they realized right then and there, shaking my knee, it shifted, you tore your ACL. I mean, they pretty much, if it's an easy tear, like if it's a tear, they could tell right then and there. They knew Jameis tore his ACL. You always have some type of hope that it was sprained and maybe not a tear, but they knew right then and there. The trainer knew it was a tear. But it's a tough road to come back from. It's a lot of physical therapy. It's a lot of mental. You're gonna have surgery. You're gonna be immobile, and so he's gonna have. But he's got a locker room around him. He's got a team full of guys that love him. Clearly, got emotional. So Jameis will be fine. The only thing I think that sucks about this is because this was kind of his prove it year, and he was about to beat the Tampa Bay Bucks and take 5-2. Like this could have been the start of Jameis on a tear, and I'm not saying he would have been MVP or been looked at as the best quarterback in the league, but this would have been him on this tear of proving that he's the answer for the New Orleans Saints moving forward. Because that's essentially the question from him coming in was he the answer for the Saints moving forward? And so now that it hurts to see somebody like that having such a good year, having such success with the team, not be able to finish it out and really show New Orleans what he's made of. And so now, like, it's tough because New Orleans has a lot of love for him. But at the end of the day, it's a business. And like, did they see enough from Jameis where they sign him on? Does he have another prove it deal? Yeah. Is he apt to sign another prove it deal after tearing his ACL? Like, does he want some type of security, especially if he looks to stay in New Orleans? Like, does he felt like he proved enough? So all these questions will be answered in the offseason, but it's just tough because the organization was on their way, to shaking things up in the NFC South, and Jameis was on his way to really prove all the doubters wrong. Sean Payton had put him in the right spots to succeed. So even with all that, just to see him end his season, it just kind of sucks. Sucks for the NFL as a whole.
It really does suck for the NFL as a whole. And, they do have other options. They have Trevor Siemian, who came in and played well in Jameis's absence. They do have Taysom Hill, who before the season started, we were hearing that maybe Taysom will be the starter. People who really know the game knew that Jameis Winston would ultimately be their starter and that he has a better arm than Taysom Hill. But Taysom Hill has been in that offense for many years, and I think that they'll be just fine. I don't see them as a threat to come out of the NFC now that Jameis is not there. They don't have that big arm, that big play kind of guy. And then we're finding out that Michael Thomas is not going to come back this year for them. So, the Saints might need to have to press the reset button and come back at it next year. But yeah, you do make a great point. Is Jameis Winston going to have another prove-it year kind of contract deal where he doesn't have that security for the next couple of years, or has he proven himself enough? And it'll be interesting to see. But I think that the relationship that he's built with Sean Payton will definitely serve him well moving forward. Now, one thing else I wanted to talk about that stood out to me, and I know it's early. We're just getting past week 8. We have 17 weeks, right? We got 7. Each team is going to be playing 17 games this season, and usually we have what's called Black Monday at the end of every NFL season, and that's when the coaches get fired on Monday. And I don't know why they call it Black Monday. It's a very sad day because Black Friday is typically, they associate that with shopping and positive things. But anyway, I digress. I think that this guy, it's time for him to go today. Like just set these wheels in motion. Dan Campbell. Losing to the Lions, losing to the Eagles 44-6. They are now 0-8. And when I'm just watching it on the sideline, Dan Campbell, I just feel like it's time for him to go. I feel like, anybody that why does your face look like that? Yes, I'm calling for this man's job today. He never looked like an NFL coach to me when he was on the podium talking about first we're going to take a bite out of their left knee, and then we're going to get up. And then they're going to knock us down. And we're going to take a bite out of their right knee. I was just like, man, this guy does not come across as a leader of an NFL franchise. And some of the decisions that they made, like as far as like the fake field goal and the fake punt in the same half, those are 2 plays that you typically save for like special moments. They use them way too early in the game, in my opinion. I watched some of their clock mismanagement. I watched just some of the decisions that he's made on whether they're not go for it on fourth down here, whether or not going on fourth down there. And I just feel like Dan Campbell is not the right guy. Now, would he be a great defensive coordinator or a great tight ends coach or a great whatever specialized coach? Even as a special teams coach, I feel like he'd be better served in that role. But there's some guys, and we've talked about it on this show, some guys like Dan Campbell, like Todd Bowles, are not meant to be head coaches, and they're meant to be coordinators. They're better coordinators than they will ever be head coaches. And I feel like Dan Campbell is one of those guys, and I feel like it's time for him to go right now, today. What do you say, Mo Murphy?
Bro, what? What?
Get him out of there. Hey, it's time to get him up out of there.
No, let me ask you something.
Okay.
What did you think the Lions' record was going to be prior to coming into this season? Answer it honestly. What did you think they were going to be?
Right now,
17, right? One in if they were lucky, right? Okay, so they're already on pace to be exactly what you thought they were, right? No matter who the coach was, based on their roster. Jared Goff might be the most talented player on that team. Penei Sewell is proven to be what he is as an offensive lineman, but he's only a rookie. DeAndre Swift is playing banged up every week, but he's actually playing fairly well. Jeff Okudah goes out before the season even starts. So now your secondary is absolutely god-awful. You have no hope there. You don't trust Jared Goff. Your best weapon has been Quintez Cephas. Tyrell
shout out to Quintez.
Yeah, Tyrell Williams was supposed to come in and be some type of guy, but he's been hurt, got a concussion, and he's always hurt anyway, so it's not like we expected anything less. TJ Hawkinson was a guy in the beginning, but now he's not a guy. He's just an average tight end. And maybe but Detroit is exactly where we thought they would be with Dan Campbell. Like, unless you're getting Bill Belichick in Detroit, who the hell did you think was better? That's all I'm saying is who did you think, like, the Philly coach is horrible. You ain't calling his job because he gets a win every now and then, but we knew Detroit was a lock. We knew Detroit was a lock to be the number one pick and the worst team in the NFL. Them in Houston. Them in Houston. I would rather call for Urban Meyer job than Dan Campbell because Jacksonville ain't even half as good as we thought, and we didn't even think they were going to be half good.
But they did.
I mean, the performance they put on against Seattle, like they got a win. Houston got a win.
So Detroit got a win. That's the point.
Because he almost got a win. It's like the luck of Detroit. He almost beat Baltimore, and it comes down to 60, a historic field goal by Justin Tucker, the greatest kicker to ever grace this earth. That's what stopped Detroit from getting a win. They played great in the first half against Aaron Rodgers and the Cowboys. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
Yeah, they did play great on that Monday night game.
But it's still Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Like, you're only going to hold them with your talent. Talent prevails when you're that much more talented than other teams. So I just can't get with Dan Campbell being gone. Not yet. Like, but it's also what your point of view is also like, and it's not you, but so many more people. Like, I'm in the minority probably on that. You're probably in the majority, but that's what's wrong with the NFL. Because you know what? Because you open the door.
Go ahead, elaborate.
Open the door.
All right.
Why you ain't calling for Kyle Shanahan's job?
Because Kyle Shanahan got into a Super Bowl already. He's been to a Super Bowl.
What has he done since then?
Not a damn thing.
I'll tell you what he's done. He's got a losing record. You take away his 13-3 season and his guess what he is in the regular.
His dad is Mike. That's how a lot of fans feel. Like maybe he'll win 2 rings like his dad.
Bro, if Kyle Shanahan was not named Shanahan and he was anybody else, he'd be fired from San Francisco right now. They're far removed. They're removed enough where there's got to be some type of success. I understand injuries and this and that, but listen, Mike Tomlin won games with Duck Hodges. Delvin Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph as his quarterback, and still has never failed to have a winning record. Like, there's certain guys that get to become overrated, and like Dan Campbell is doing with Detroit exactly what you thought Detroit was going to be. But let's fire him because they're going to get who the head coach is going to be any better. The coach in Philly sucks. Yeah, Ron Rivera ain't winning no games in Washington.
Hey.
Joe Judge ain't winning no games in New York, and that's just
watch him out about Ron Rivera.
Bro, we could go around the league and start talking about guys who aren't doing what they supposed to do.
And that's what we're gonna do. Like I believe next week, starting early next week, we're gonna do a show where we go list for list of who's gonna be coaching after this NFL season. Like who's on the hot seat and who should not be on the hot seat. But I get your point. I do get your point. Anybody that takes that job, unless it's Bill Belichick, is probably going to get fired at the end of this.
And even Bill Belichick would suck this year. Like, I mean,
what is man? Hey, and they're not
horrible. That roster is absolutely horrible. Yeah. Like,
and I just expected more out of Jared Goff, and I just expected, but you're right. They have been competitive in a couple of these games, and it'll be interesting to see. What they can do moving forward if they can at least get a win. But Dan Campbell, in my opinion, it's time for him to go. And I just want to see.
That's not fair, Barry. But I'm gonna let you. That's not fair to be mad at Dan Campbell for having Detroit exactly where you thought they were.
And maybe it's just me. It's just something about him. It's something about him. It just makes me like, he's not a coach. He's not a coach. And I know other people out there feel the same way I do. We are Go Long Live. That's Mo Murphy. I am Barry Long. The second, not the first, not the third. Now, speaking of the third, we got to bring it up. Henry Ruggs the third, who has been having some really good games this year. He's been, he only had 2 touchdowns last year in his rookie season, but he's already got 2 touchdowns this year. He's caught a lot of deep balls from Derek Carr. Seems like every time Derek Carr goes back and does that 7-drop step, and then he throws it all the way down the field. By the time the cameraman pans down to the field and you see who he's throwing it to, you already knew it was going to be Ruggs, and you already knew he's going to be open, and you already knew he's going to make some incredible catches. Well, he was involved in a very serious car accident in which a young lady who was 23 years old died, and her dog died. And he stayed on the scene, and he did a field sobriety test. They found out he was drunk, and now he's facing DUI charges that resulted in a death. So he has been officially released from the the Las Vegas Raiders. And we do not know whether or not he will go to jail, but there are mandatory times, mandatory prison time in the state of Nevada, 2 years to 20 years for a charge like this. So we can basically assume that he will be in prison for a little bit of time, or at least some part of time, and that he's going to have to, pay retribution and do all kinds of stuff that he's going to have to go through DUI classes. He may not play football ever again. And this is just one of those things where everybody out there that does, indulge in adult beverages, just make sure that, you are always being smart. You're always, getting an Uber driver, we have rideshare, and he's a millionaire. So I know a lot of people are like, oh man, he should have just had a driver. You don't really know how you would react unless you were that man and you were in his shoes. So at the end of the day, just a very tragic situation. And the Raiders now have released him. And your thoughts, Mo Murphy?
I'm gonna be honest, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of a touchy subject. I've seen this happen firsthand. I've seen knew somebody, who lost their life based on drinking and driving. But all I'm gonna say is everybody got so much to say, and because they throw that he's a millionaire and he should have had a driver. Listen, they're humans too. These millionaire athletes make human decisions, and guess what? That man went to Topgolf in his Corvette with his lady, hung out with a couple homies, maybe or maybe not, planned on getting belligerently drunk. We don't know what his intentions were. We know what the end result was twice the legal limit. Did kill somebody driving fast, which was reckless driving, whether he was drunk or not. Like
156 miles per hour, man.
That's reckless, drunk or not, period. So that's already dumb decision number one. But it's just my thing is like everybody got so much to say. And listen, it's a dumb decision. It's a terrible decision. And condolences to the family of the 23-year-old woman who lost her life, period.
And the dog. Yeah.
And the dog, yeah. But it's not fair that everybody we all have we been twice the legal limit and drove? No, probably not. Can't speak for that. But we all have went to hang out, to a bar, to a friend's house, to a Halloween party, to a Christmas party, and had 1 or 2 more drinks than we planned on doing. The only difference between us and a guy like Henry Ruggs is we still here to tell the tale. We didn't get pulled over. We didn't crash. So like, it's just one of those, like when you get on social media and you talk about somebody, and instead of like praying for the brother, pray for him too. Pray for his girlfriend. Pray for his family, because not only does a 23-year-old woman lose her life, but like Henry Ruggs' life is impacted. His family's life is impacted. His girlfriend's life is impacted. Like, and I understand you never want to pray for the bad guy, but if anybody is spiritual, you pray for everybody. Good,
pray
bad.
For everybody. Yeah, there you go.
It doesn't matter. You know, you pray for the best for everybody. And so it's just one of those situations. Like, let's not make Henry Ruggs the butt of a joke. It's not funny. Somebody lost their life in this incident. But I just hate how we all act like saints.
Yeah.
You know, when we get on here and talk about people and we act like saints, like we've never went somewhere and went to Hooters and had a few wings and one more beer than we should have.
Hooters.
Yeah, Hooters. You know, you went to Hooters or you went to the, you know, the
some great wings, by the way. Great chicken food.
Yeah, you go to the after hour spot with your homies. You went and had, you know, went and had a couple drinks with your people from work after work, like, and you might have had one more than you should have, but I wasn't drunk. Maybe he felt that way, like twice the legal limit. I get he shouldn't have. Yeah. But sometimes people feel like they not as drunk as they thought they were and thought he could make it. Then a young cat in a Corvette, you know what I'm saying, made a dumb decision to go on 156, which was dumb regardless, drunk or not. But it's just everybody has so much to say, and like, let's look back and let's pray for him. Let's pray for the woman who lost her life and the dog. Let's pray for that family, because when one guy makes one stupid decision, look how many lives are impacted at the end of the day. An organization is impacted. That's probably the problems, but they're short a player. They're short an impact player while making the Super Bowl run. But it'd be selfish to say that, but that's the likeliness. A parent has a child out there who's never going to come home again. Like, parents have a child who's never going to come home again. Yeah. Never going to see that dog for a piece of her memory. His girlfriend, they parents, we don't know the significance of her injuries. We don't know what type of therapy, rehab she going to have to go through. Yeah. We don't know what he going to have to go through. So, you know, it's just one of those pray for everybody. And it's such an unfortunate situation. It always is. But every decision has a consequence, good or bad.
Yeah, and maybe we learn from it. And that was well said, Mo Murphy. Appreciate you saying that, man. And we're out of time today, but what we will talk about for a little while tomorrow is, now that they have an opening at the wide receiver position, and now that Deshaun Jackson has left the Rams, they have waived him because they couldn't find a trade partner for him, and he is a deep threat, kind of like Henry Ruggs. Maybe the Raiders will look into bringing Deshaun Jackson out, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. We'll talk about the Von Miller trade to the Rams as well tomorrow. We will break down this Sunday night game between the Colts and the Jets. This Thursday night game between the Colts and the Jets, and we will talk a lot about NFL. We'll talk some about college football, and we will have you guys comment. Mo Murphy, real quick, where can they find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me at Upper Flames Pod on Twitter, Instagram, _cheese15 on Twitter, Instagram, and make sure you go check out offtheballnetwork.com for all your sports needs, entertainment. A lot of new guys writing articles, a lot of great podcasts, and make sure you go listen starting at 11 a.m. Eastern on Dash Radio to hear all the great shows, starting with my show. Then you got the president of Off the Ball with Off the Ball podcast going next. Then you got Shoot or Shoot. Then you got Breaking the Game. Then you got the Hoopers. So 5 straight hours of basketball content from Off the Ball Network. So make sure you go check that out as well.
You can find me on Twitter at Radio Barry Long. You can find me on IG at BarryLong_2 and on Facebook at BarryLong_II. We're going to leave y'all real quick. Just remember, stay focused, stay motivated, stay inspired. Remember, you're capable of doing anything. And before we hit y'all with the outro, I got to hit y'all with this little Jameis Winston clip because we love Jameis. Peace.
Give overall shape to the way this played out, Jameis.
Well, I just think we were prepared. You know, one thing my trainer, he told me, he said, what did he say? He just told us to be prepared.